Namaskar. Good evening, friends and music lovers. It's my privilege to present my ideas on our School of Music. தமிழில் சொல்லணுன்னா பாணின்னு சொல்லுவா, வீணதனமாள் பாணின்னு. பட் எனக்கு பாணின்னா அதோட எக்ஸாக்ட் நியூவான்ஸ் புரியல. அதனால் என்னோட டைட்டில், மை டைட்டில் is an English title. After all, being an English professor, I'm more comfortable with English. It's the technique and style of வீணதனமாள். எந்த ஆர்ட் ஃபார்ம் எடுத்துட்டாலும் you have two aspects of the art form. One is the technique part of it. The other is the style part of it. The technique pertains to the artist, to the medium that is used, and the technicalities of adjusting to the limitations of the medium, how to enhance it, and how to adjust to it, how to cope with it, etc. That is the technique. The style pertains to the personality of the artist, and it is unique to the artist. This style I derived from my mother, who learned from Sri Rangaraman, who was a disciple of Veena. And so this is through hearsay that I've gathered all the details that I have, because I wasn't alive when she was alive. And these are all details that I have picked up from conversations with RR, as I call him. And so some of the details I'll share with you. In technique, the medium, and awareness of the nature of the limitations of the medium. That's very important. Especially an instrument like Veena. You see, it's meant to be a chamber music instrument. It's not an instrument which is meant for a large hall or a large audience. And we'll see more of that in the next slide. The second is defined by this, the style is defined by the person, the nature, the thinking, personality, background of the artist, etc. But when we start learning the music, we take it as one unit and we follow our guru entirely. It's only after introspection, after maturity, that you learn to factor out the two. We know only after that. The first thing that she accepted was that the Veena is a delicate chamber music instrument. The pitch nuances expressed by the Veena truly reflect the nuances of the trained human voice. இது நம்ம நிறைய இதில் லிட்ரேச்சர் கூட படிச்சிருக்கோம். வீணா கான கமக்க கிரியெல்லாம் ஈஸ்வரர் கூட பாடியிருக்கார். அதனால் இட்ஸ் அ பிலீஃப் தட் தி வீணா கேன் ட்ரூலி ஷேடோ அ வெல் ட்ரெயின்ட் ஹியூமன் வாய்ஸ். என்ன கமக்கம் வாய்ப்பாட்டில் கொடுக்க முடியுமோ அது அத்தனையும் வி கேன் ஷேடோ திஸ். In fact, some vocalists have said earlier that நான் வீணை வாசிக்கிறதுனால என்னோட ஞானம் ஜாஸ்தியாச்சு எனக்கு, because I became very conscious of the precise things I was doing to capture what I was singing when I was singing அப்படின்னு சொல்லியிருக்கேன் முன்னால். As I said earlier, as we grow older and more mature, hopefully, we learn to separate the two. The technique from the artist, the style. When it comes to the style, I must say, as we grow older, we don't accept everything about the guru automatically and completely. We have our differences. Even between a husband and wife, after a life of living together, you still do have differences. Adhe mari, even between a student and a guru, after some time you realize, look, this is not me. This is somebody else. I don't want to be somebody else. I want to present my music, what I feel, what I emote, I want to give it to people. The first thing that she understood about the Veena was that it's a chamber music instrument. It's meant for a small hall, not even this big, a small hall, and which can hold only about 10, 12 people, and without any audio augmentation, they can only perceive the nuances there, and so her style was based entirely on that assumption. Therefore, she eschewed all accompaniments, not even a tanpura. Tanpura wasn't there. There was no mridangam. It was only her playing But the fact that the Veena had to shadow the voice, she sang full-throatedly right through her playing. So that is another factor about this school. We don't believe in subduing the voice and playing the Veena. Both the Veena and the voice are equally important when we play. So that people know that this person is actually shadowing the voice while playing the Veena. Now, there are two hand techniques, left and right. In her technique, the right hand is the simplest. The first thing is that we realize the delicacy of the instrument, therefore we don't pluck the instrument, we only strum it. The advantage of strumming is that there is no break in the continuity of the melody. If you pluck it like this, every time you pluck, there will be a break. So this is the first thing that she believed in, and that is a philosophy which is the foundation stone of the entire style. So the right hand, you stick to merely strumming, gentle strumming. And because of the left hand technique, even the strumming was kept to a minimum, reduced maximally, so that you have more continuity in the play. The second fact is the talam strings. What purpose do they serve? If the Veena is a sarvavadyam, that is, it's an entire orchestra by itself. It means you don't need a tanpura because you can use the tala string right through. So when the composition is rendered, there is regular strumming of the tala strings, equal beats for aditalam, and equal beats for Kanta Chapu, and you skip only one beat for Rupakam and one beat for Mr. Chapu. So Aditalam goes like this. And Rupakatalam goes like this. You miss the beat, you don't use the thing. And Tishra Triputa, that is Mr. Chapu. And Kanta Chapu, of course, you. And the most important thing is when you play the alapana, the tanpura effect you get if you keep doing it while you play. So you don't need an extra additional tanpura there, and it's also very practical. Tuning the tanpura, Veena itself is a very difficult task. If you have to tune the tanpura and then come back to your Veena, by the time you are finished with tuning, your patience would be at an end. Now we go on to the left hand technique, which is a little more complicated. Actually, we don't know the origin of this technique. RR tried to probe her, asking her, where did it come from? Did you pick it up from anybody? She said, I picked it up like that. I know it by myself, kind of thing. But then he said there is a possibility that some of the techniques, left-hand techniques, she picked up from Kalyanakshma Bhagavatar, who was the great-grandfather of the Vainika Kalyanakshma Bhagavatar we all know of. So some of the technique could be attributed to him, the left-hand techniques. So the first thing is the split finger technique. You split the fingers when you play on the left. I'll show you. If you play the phrase Riga Mappa, you play it without splitting the finger, then you get something like this. Right? You split the finger, see what happens. There is greater clarity. One. Secondly, this also shadows what happens in your voice when you sing Rigamappa. There is a break in your voice between Ga and Ma. And this technique captures that accurately. Now, I'll put it down again. And when you render phrases like padpa, mapma, you lift the middle finger and pluck with the middle finger on your left hand. And here again the beauty is that whatever the ragam, for instance when you play padpa or mapma or danda, the knee could be the Shuddha or the other nishadam, Daivatam could be this or that. It doesn't matter. It's always a full note away. Actually, if you do a pitch recording, you will note that when you do padpa, in fact, the voice does go to the full note above and comes down, even if it is todi. For instance, then similarly, Shankarabharanam. The danda is always a full note away. So this scientifically captures what happens in the pitch waves when we sing. Now we can combine both these, the split finger and the plucking with the middle finger. And if you do that, you reduce a lot of strumming with the right hand. If you take the phrase, Dhani sarsa nida, no plucking at all, only one. And you can also subtly change it to give different shades when you repeat the same sangati. For instance, listen to Entukunardiya, the sangati there. You can play it differently to bring out different nuances. So this is another advantage of the split finger technique. Then we come to the famous Puritam, that is keep both the fingers on the adjacent frets, lift the middle finger and bring the other one immediately to the next fret. This is a stamp of Veena Dhanam technique. In fact, my friend late N.S. Srinivasan used to say, look, in the All India Radio auditions, you're supposed to be anonymous. You're not supposed to know who you are. But the moment you do, we know, okay, this is this. We know it immediately. This is a giveaway. You can't help it. Yeah, with this Puritam again, there is a tendency to think that certain ragas do not allow Spuritam. It's ungrammatical because the adjacent note is not selected by the raga. If you do it for Kalyani, no problem. Nobody is going to ask any question. Or for Shankarabharanam, no problem. But if you do something like this for on Karaharapriya, if you do, for instance, the Sangati, Ramani Samaname, Karaharapriya does not select this Gandharam, but still, I don't think this is ungrammatical. Therefore, it's the duty of every student to analyze which of this is grammatical I'm going to accept, which of these I'm going to reject. So this is a process of interaction I have carefully thought about, and so I would accept it on any of these that you see. Can you see the screen clearly? This is not problematic, but the next one we come to a problem. Long back, I had played Angarakam at Sri Spencer Venugopal's house, and when I said he immediately said, no, you can't do that. You're using the other nishadam. I thought about it, and I think my answer is that This note here requires a subtle janta, like prominence. Varau Mangala Varau. That is captured by this, though the note is not the Kakali Nishada. It's not. So I think it's grammatical, it's perfectly fine. I'll give you another example. In Manasu Swadhinamai, you have Raja Rajesha in the Anupallavi. First Sankati, you start Raja, Raja. Then the Spuritam captures the janta's nuance perfectly. I don't find it ungrammatical at all. But later on we'll see there are certain aspects of the Dhanammal style that in our school, the RR school, we have rejected. We'll come to that as we go on. Now, before I turn to her style, I must talk to you about Kritimani Malai, the magnum opus of my guru, Adhyar. Sri Kritimani Malai, everyone assumes automatically it's from Rangaraman Jangar, then it is Veena Dhanammal. That is not true. All the compositions in Sri Kritimani Malai do not reflect Veena Dhanammal's playing at all. In fact, as he has mentioned several times that he had a phenomenal memory and how he remembered many songs he had heard in his childhood introduced to him by Shimari Sundaramayyar. So many of these go to that period of his life when he was not in contact with Veena Dhanammal at all. So a large part of the compositions notated in Sri Kritimani Malai are not attributable to Veena Dhanammal at all. Some are, and here are the examples. These are the compositions that you will find in the recordings. Nenarunchi Sri Narada, Brova Bharama, Himadri Sute, Nari Mani, Sarasumulade, Sri Raghuvara Sugunalaya. Actually, there is a tutorial on the web, thanks to Dr. Ramakrishnan, with instructions what to do with which finger at which point. So it's a detailed tutorial which is available on the web. Mahimateliya, Uttu Betra, Vediga Gopalu, and a few more. Kaddari Vagalama, Rama Rama, Nikela Brahmadirade. This is an Adharama Kriya, Kshetrajna Padam, which is very rare. Nobody else outside our school performs this, plays this. Venugana, Vanajanayana, Paradevata, Nagalingam, Chintayama, Amba Kamakshi, Ninivina Sukumagana, Neelakantam, Sri Venugopala, and many others. Talking of Amba Kamakshi, I must mention that in his book he has included the other two Swarajidis as well, the Yadukala Kambodi and Todi Swarajidis. These are not part of our repertoire at all. In fact, I have personal communication. Padma Vardhan has admitted that the Yadukala Kambodi piece came at the last moment from some source and he just included it. We don't perform it, it's not in our style at all. So there are things, it's a heterogeneous set. This volume is a heterogeneous set, we have to sift through it carefully. In all, she had taught only 12 compositions to him after she had heard him play on the radio at Panagal Park. She had come all the way from Georgetown to listen to his radio performance, and she heard him and she was very impressed, and she said, Angar sir, Andurgo, Chaltare. So 12 compositions all she taught him. Among them, the ones I know are Meena Nayana, which has come down to me from my mother, and has even gone on to my daughter. Then Sri Rukminisha, this is the last composition he learned from her. It's on record in the book. This composition I have rendered digitally. It's available on a CD. And Shankaracharya. More of Shankaracharya. Once he asked me, which do you think is the best song in Shankarabharanam? And I immediately said Shankaracharya. He smiled, his mysterious smile, and said, that is the Karavi's doing. Meaning she was the one who had raised it to that level of sophistication and therefore automatically the notation in Sri Kritimani Malai reflects her rendering completely. But it is surprising that many compositions that we also render and the family also renders, there are minor subtle differences in our renderings. Some of the examples are Vagaladi, Indendu, Thiruvattriyur Tyagarajan, Padari Varagudu, Sharanu Sharanu, Saki Prana, Ososi, etc. I'll illustrate the difference in the phrasing between the family and us. I'll take Ososi for this. The family renders it like this. And we render it like this. And what can we attribute this to? Actually, RR has said several times that he was amazed that Veena Dhanam would render the same song in slightly different ways at different occasions. If she repeated a song, it will have subtle differences, and there could be phrasing differences, sangati differences, other kinds of things. So maybe this is owing to that. But I must also acknowledge that the other compositions that I list here, Ni Muddu Momo, Evaron Naru in Madhavasri, and Samaja Varagamana, the Carnatic Hindolam piece, they are available digitally sung by Mukta, Brinda, and the notation in Kritimani Malai is exactly the same. For instance, Ni Muddu Momo. The Sangati is exactly the same that she renders. So it's really amazing that sometimes the notation follows the family's rendering, but sometimes it does not. And here I must mention a major difference. For instance, the composition Paripurna Kama in Purvi Kalyani by Tyagaraja, the two traditions are entirely different, extremely different. What you have heard rendered by Brindama and others is that's how it's rendered. Whereas we render it like this. It was taught to me directly by Rangaraman Jega. They're totally different. And here I'd like to give you a first digression about myself. I would like to compare myself with a flower thief. See, in India, I'm sure all of you have encountered people who come stealthily early in the morning to steal flowers from other people's gardens to perform their puja. And in India, it's not a crime. In the West, it is a crime. You can't do that. In India, we'll get irritated with the person, but we'll say, okay, let it be. It's for the puja. And I'm like this. Wherever I see a good Sangati, I take it. And I have taken it right from my childhood. I can even tell you where I've taken what Sangati from. So, I am a flower thief. And if you want to give an uncharitable interpretation, you could say, look, a public concert is not equivalent to a worship. Place of worship, I take it. I take the blame. But I can't help it because I do admire many musicians and I do pick freely from their beauty. But I acknowledge them silently in my heart. In the public concert, I can say, this Sangati is owing to so and so. I can't do that. But I'm aware that I have taken things. So in a sense, my style is a slightly heterogeneous style at the moment. It's not pure, uncorrupted, the Veena Dhanamal style. It's not. And you'll see by and by, I have made more changes also. Now coming to a style, it reflects what I call her wit. What is wit? In fact, I don't know the Tamil equivalent. Tamil la enna solvan theriyala enakku. But I think what I would think of wit is it kind of gives you a surprise. You expect something and you get something a little different. her music was full of that. I'll give you an illustration. You will hear later on in the Ganaraka Panchamam, both these in the illustrations. In Gaula, for instance, when you have Pama, Gama, the next note you expect is a Re, right? That's what you expect. But what the old lady gives is a straight Re, and she says, what do you say? Is it ungrammatical? Come on, tell me. And I admire it. Similarly, another example from the Ganarakatanam is the Varali. Varali is supposed to be the Varali Madhyamam, you must concentrate on that. The Varali Nishadam is also higher. So, after doing all that, she does. And she makes you stop in your tracks. I command you to say it's ungrammatical. It's not. So this is what I call her wit. She was full of that. Unexpected phrasings, totally unpredictable and brilliant. Naturally, only she could get away with whatever she did. Others can't. So each one of us says, okay, this much and no more. And I'll tell you what defined the RR school here. We accept, for instance, the last Sangati of Sri Narada, where it's rendered. You'd wonder, what is this? This is not a Sampurna Ragam. But she says, I don't think it's wrong because the meat is on Ma. It's a subtle Anuswaram, that's all. And she gets away with it. I like it. We all like it. We all accept it and we all play it like that. And we also accept her interpretation of Venkadavarnam. It's famous, and you will hear it soon. And Angarakam and Manasu Swadhinama, etc., I've already spoken to you about. But we do not subscribe to her rendering of Nijamarmamulana. In his earlier days, when he was full of admiration for Veena Dhanam, R.R. did teach it to his earlier students, my mother and others. But afterwards, he thought it was ungrammatical, totally ungrammatical. He never taught it to his later students. And if you go back to his notation, the notation is a regular grammatical one. I'll illustrate the difference between them. Actually, Umabharanam has a full Arohanam, and therefore, this is what we've heard Madhuramani sing and make famous. But she renders it like this. What is this Rimapa? It should be Rigamapa. So we don't accept that. Another instance is the use of Kakali Nishadam in Harikamodi. How can you do that? She's supposed to have rendered Antara Nidana, the Anupallavi. We don't do it. I don't know whether the family does it. But the next one, the family still does. In Faraz, Smarasundarangi, they do sing the Pratimadhyama. We don't. So there is a major difference, a difference in thinking, and we think it's too far. You can't go that far. As I told you, her major trait was her wit and her fast tempo phrasings interspersed throughout, and the development is never logical. It would start in one place, go to another place, come back here, give you another take, and go up and down, whatever. So that was a typical her style. What we have retained of it is that interspersing Med Kalam with slow tempo right through is not reserved for the last finale. So that we have kept. Now we listen to her renderings. We listen to her renderings. First we have Venkadavarnam. Next we turn to the Kriti Ramani Samanamivaru. Yeah, before I play the next song, I believe this is the one which is done the first few bits to be recorded. And when she sang, that man objected. And I believe she got very angry. So the rest of the recording, she was a little put off. But we have a rare opportunity to hear her sing. Here I must point out the Kalpana Swaram that she rendered at the end, she does not have individual pluckings for all the notes. She had her own way of deciding when to do it and when not to do it. We don't follow that. Now we have culled a few alapanas. You will hear a few repetitions. The Begada alapana, you will hear again, once again, but please kindly bear with it. Or if you want me to skip it, I can. I wouldn't mind listening to it any number of times. Next comes Bahudari. Here notice that her use of Madhyamam is rather odd. But I like it. Malavi again is a gem. Her kamas was famous, actually. Her kapi actually is, I suspect it's a viritam that she is rendered without the singing. So the pluckings are a little odd. Next we come to the Dhanam. Her technique was unique. And once again, there are many prayogas here which are slightly questionable, but I like them. Please listen to the Dhanam. But one thing I must mention here, in Gaula, please listen, this school is supposed to be very famous for its special lower nishadam in Gaula. Rimapanisa, the knee, if you don't go to the sa, sometimes you can stop at a lower nishadam. She does it once here, but I've never been comfortable with that. Because it comes only in one phrase, and a raga is not made up of just one phrase. And you can't incorporate it into your grammar of the raga unless you know the raga fully well and you can embed it in the raga. I'll give you a concrete example. I had the good fortune to play Shankarabharanam with Kalpakam Mami. It's on record. It's I think it's on YouTube. She taught me how to play the slightly lower Gandharam in the descent. Now if you ask me to play the same Varnam in her way, maybe I'll have only about 15% success. Because what happened afterwards was, I tried to introspect, this Gandharam is very beautiful, can I incorporate it into my compositions, the compositions I know. The compositions I know are, say, Emanadiche, Nijamukha, Giripai, Sri Kamalambikayam, and Magaduchi. I tried in each one of them, it stuck out like a sore thumb. I'll give you a major illustration. For instance, what she used to do, was the ga. It used to be slightly lower, very beautiful. But I can't do this in Yamanadi. It has to be the proper Gandharam. If I lower it, it will sound atrocious. Then I realized I cannot incorporate it into my alapanas, into my anything, into my grammar of Sahana. It's only something I can admire and leave it at that. So what I'm saying is, the story of Gauda Nishadam is also exactly like that. I cannot incorporate it. Another trait of the Ragamalika is that, unlike others, she would never stop one ragam and then start another one. It will be a seamless shift from one raga to the other, and you will never know where she is going to shift. It could be in the lower octave, higher octave, anywhere. So this is something we try to follow in our school. Now their school is famous for padams. Here are two padams that she has rendered in the recordings. One is the Ananda Bhairavi, Ottu Betra, and the other is Padiga Gopalu Mohanam. We usually assume that padams have to be rendered in ultra slow speed. You would have noticed that the rendering is not ultra slow because it's realistic. In a Veena, you cannot play like that. There won't be any continuity unless you have a contact mic. She didn't have any at that point. sorry for the noise. Okay, skip this and go to the next. She had recorded 2 javalis. My recording, the one record broke and I could not record the second one, Sarasumulade. So here is one javali, Narimani, which is a gem. We've already listened to the Kamas Ragam, so I'll skip this. This is again another Viritam. If you wish to listen to the Todi, we could listen to it. It's a little unusual take on Todi again, once again. Shall I put it on? Okay, sorry, the crackling is too much. I can't enjoy the music. I can listen to it forever. I have no problem. As I've said earlier, the style necessitated by the nature of the instrument, an instrument meant for chamber music necessarily made the music also a kind of soliloquy. So her practice was nobody should cough or show any sign of appreciation or ask for any specific, can you play this? Nothing. Just silence and go away. I'm talking to myself, my music is talking to myself. See, in this school now, she didn't use a plectrum, we do. She didn't have a contact mic, we do. And we are forced to play to larger halls. Therefore, the style has changed in a way. It can't remain the same. Some people say if you use these gadgets, the sacred Shakti of the Veena, Kundalini Shakti, is disrupted. I don't buy that at all. For instance, wasn't the Kundalini disrupted when you shifted from fiber to stainless steel? It's very simple. I don't buy that at all. But having said that, there were others who were equally brilliant and whose styles were different because they had a different conception of the Veena. For the first time, actually I was not exposed to other styles earlier in life. The first time I was exposed was in Madurai. The mid-70s, I was there for a couple of years, and I was introduced to Lakshmi Ammal, the mother of the late Vainika Rajeshwari Padmanabhan. She was such a gracious lady. When she heard that I also play the Veena, immediately she said, I'll organize an evening of music on my terrace. I happily accepted it. Her daughter Shashikala and I took turns playing the Veena on the terrace, open terrace. Shashikala, of course, played the Karakudi Bani, the majestic, powerful Bani, and people sitting all over the terrace had no problems appreciating her music. When I started playing, they all moved forward because I was not audible. But that is my music. I can't change it now. It's like my voice. It's very weak. And I still admire people who have powerful voices, but I don't have. My Veena is also like that. So my homage to the Karakudi style, the great style, and also another maestro who crafted a technique all his own. Here I must say something. I personally believe in reticence, in understatement, in not wearing my heart on my sleeve. If these are traits of classicism, I'm a classicist. But you know, human beings admire the opposite. And the opposite is romantic. And here was a great romantic. Passion writ large there, larger than life. And when you listen to him, the range of emotions he could express, this is something I can never express, but my homage to him as well. Thank you for all of you for listening patiently to me. Now, if you would like me to play a little